Fans of the Force Unleashed video game will instantly recognize one of the great feats performed within the game by Darth Vader's secret apprentice Galen Marek, also known as Starkiller. After overloading an ore cannon that was relaying salvage to an orbital shipyard above Raxus Prime, Starkiller was able to destroy the shipyard, but not without a few unintended consequences. The resulting destruction of the shipyard sent a Star Destroyer plummeting towards Raxus Prime, and even worse, towards Starkiller himself. With Jedi Master Rvmuller recognizing that there was no time for Starkiller to evacuate, there was only one seemingly impossible solution. Using nothing but the Force, Starkiller was to take down and manipulate the Star Destroyer itself, not just so that it decimated the ore cannon and the Empire's efforts on Raxus Prime, but also ensuring that it stopped in time to allow Starkiller to survive. Again, it's recognized as one of the most powerful displays with the Force of any Jedi or Sith within Legends. Because of the uniqueness of this scene, there are a number of questions surrounding it. How exactly did Starkiller do it? What were his thoughts in that moment? Was there some unknown Force ability involved? This is where the Force Unleashed novel can help us out, allowing us to see exactly what Starkiller's thoughts were in that moment, and how he was able to perform the impressive task of actually taking down and manipulating a Star Destroyer. I'll just note at the start here, although it wasn't a fully completed Star Destroyer that we typically see fully operational in battle, as its engines and armament weren't yet fully installed, with the capital ship's Class 1 hyperdrive installed and its reinforced Durasteel hull intact, it still weighed in the thousands of tons, described as a million-ton machine within the novel. Of course, Starkiller unsurprisingly didn't think such a feat was possible. It was Coda's words that would inspire Vader's former apprentice, where the Jedi Master explained that as a Jedi, size was meaningless, and Starkiller shouldn't focus on the sheer weight of the approaching Star Destroyer. This initially motivated Starkiller, as he recognized the Force did indeed reject the concepts of big or small, heavy or light, and hard or easy. Starkiller knew that the Force flowed into both extremes recognized as big and small, and thus, the Force bound something even as massive as a Star Destroyer to himself, and if he could bind himself to the capital ship with the Force, he could control it. This provided Starkiller with the initial confidence that the feat just might be possible. And yet, he still couldn't help wondering if something like this had ever been performed before, whether by Vader, the Emperor, or any other Sith or Jedi in galactic history. But he nevertheless understood that at least theoretically it could be attempted, and so Starkiller dropped into the opening stance of the Form 3 lightsaber combat of Surisu. He decided to use his right arm and fingers to stretch outwardly towards the Star Destroyer, and bracing himself firmly into the planet beneath him, Starkiller reached deeper into the Force than he ever had before. The way the novel describes it here from Starkiller's perspective is actually really fascinating, explaining how he used the power of the Force to pull down the Star Destroyer. Starkiller found that as he was deeply within the Force, he felt as though he was standing above a powerful chasm that had just been unlocked. He then allowed both his own mind and will to plunge downward, and as it filled, the physical existence of the Star Destroyer slid within the chasm to join his mind. It's an extremely vivid description by author Sean Williams, but it also continues from there. With his outstretched right hand, the tips of his fingers joined together with the Star Destroyer in his mind to become one. This allowed Starkiller to then grab a hold of every nut, wire, plate, and bolt, seeing the entire capital ship in his mind. In this state, Starkiller thought that if he could simply direct his arm, then why couldn't he also direct the Star Destroyer he was now bound to? He grew confident thanks to the illusion that he had every component of the Star Destroyer within his hand, and yet, unsurprisingly, actually manipulating the ship was no easy task. The first moment Starkiller attempted to move the Star Destroyer caused him to become extremely disoriented, a result of the fact that he basically had an entire capital ship held within the tip of a single finger. But Starkiller fought through it, feeling the shudder of the Star Destroyer echo through every muscle fiber, nerve, and bone within his body. Starkiller recognized he was indeed bound together with the Star Destroyer, and thus, he shouldn't be surprised that he shared its experiences. However, as the Star Destroyer got closer and closer, he found the feat to become even more difficult, with his thoughts revealing he had to be so precise so as to take the growing friction caused by re-entry into the atmosphere into account, shifting and refocusing the capital ship's center of gravity. But as he was beginning to get the hang of it, it wasn't long before he was quickly overwhelmed by the enormous exertion he was placing upon himself. When the Star Destroyer began to pick up speed, Starkiller's vision began to fade, with light and dark flashes beginning to dominate his view, causing him to wonder if it might be possible that he somehow dissolved into the Force itself. As Starkiller began to dwell upon the undertaking he was attempting and the combination of arrogance and boldness with which he was utilizing the Force, a sudden panic overtook him, almost causing Starkiller to lose control of the Star Destroyer completely. At this point, Starkiller knew he wouldn't succeed unless he was able to find his focus again, to find something that he could hold on to bolster him, so he might be able to tip the balance of power back into his own favor. In a great section within the novel, Starkiller's thoughts initially turned to the pivotal scene in which Galen Marek was first introduced to Darth Vader on Kashyyyk. In order to regain control of the Star Destroyer, Starkiller remembered that he had once stood up to Vader, taking the Sith Lord's lightsaber when he hadn't yet experienced any training, standing bravely in the face of certain death. To bolster himself, Starkiller tried to again call upon the strength and bravery of Galen, what he was before he'd been consumed by the darkness of Vader's training. Unfortunately for Starkiller, no answer came in the form of Galen, and thus, he turned to the next best source of power within him, which was the Imperial Captain Juno Eclipse. With all the strength he could pull forward, Starkiller was able to move the Star Destroyer one final time, changing its angle just enough to bring it into the ground so it remained intact to take out the ore cannon on Raxus Prime. Recognizing he'd done all that he could, Starkiller felt the Force immediately retreat from him, but the task was complete as the Star Destroyer not only destroyed the cannon, but came to a stop just in time to allow Starkiller to survive the impact. It's an awesome scene made even better with the inclusion of so many details in the novel, ranging from Starkiller's use of the Force to his confrontation of Vader on Kashyyyk. It wasn't simply a form of telekinesis, but so much more on the part of Starkiller. And while it happens relatively quickly within the game, Starkiller's thoughts reveal what truly was required to make the impressive feat possible. So there we have it, Starkiller's thoughts as he took down a Star Destroyer on Raxus Prime. Thank you very much to all of the Patreon members of Star Wars Reading Club, as your support is so greatly appreciated. You can find all of our social media links and a link to our Star Wars gaming channel in the description below for updates and even more Star Wars content. We love making these videos, so why not subscribe for more fun Star Wars theories and discussions. Also, if you enjoyed the video, think about giving a like or leaving a comment. If not for me, for motivating confrontations.